Thank you all for joining us today for our mentoring program webinar series number 1, Writing a Resume and Self-Promotion. Today's speaker is our own Tony Collis, and Dr. Tony Collis is the Director and CEO of Collis Homes Innovations and Chair of Women in HPC. Tony is a strategic manager in the HPC community, as well as an experienced lecturer and trainer. The focus of our work has been on enabling those without detailed training in computer science and HPC to still use supercomputers and developing a pipeline of inclusive technology leaders. As chair and co-founder of WHPC, Tony also developed and led training aiming to diversify the HPC workforce by providing HPC tutorials for women academics and students in Europe. So, Tony, please take the floor. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you. So you all met me, well, hopefully many of you met me last week when we did our mentoring kickoff. But thank you, Shivani, for the official introduction. I just want to say I'm absolutely thrilled to be the person kicking this off. Shivani and I didn't entirely plan that it would be me, but almost all of the topics that we're going to cover, or Shivani and her incredible team are going to cover in the upcoming webinar series, are very, very dear to my heart. And I actually recently have started doing leadership and success coaching to help more women thrive and become as fabulous as they can be. I think women need to not only do we have a duty to step up and do more in the HPC community, I think that so many of us feel that there is more that we can offer if we are just given the tools to be able to do so. And as an underrepresented group, I'm sure many of you know, as being part of the Women in HPC mentoring program, there are just more barriers in our way. And so my goal is to break those down. And one of those is self-promotion. It's kind of icky, makes us all creepy. And we look at the people around us, politicians, CEOs, the CEOs who do social media interviews or have an interview on the news, and you think, why are they doing that? Is that actually to the benefit of their company? And we therefore see self-promotion as icky and it's showing off, even narcissistic. But actually, what I'm here to tell you is that self-promotion does matter, and it doesn't have to look like that. And actually, managing your self-promotion is essential in your career. Whether you want to stay where you currently are, or you have amazingly exciting aspirations for a bright future that's nothing like what you're doing right now, you have to tell people what you're doing. But it doesn't have to be that uncomfortable, horrible, icky, making yourself look better than everybody else that we're all like, oh, let's stay away from that. And of course, one of the most important tools in your self-promotion toolkit is your resume or CV. So we'll touch on that at the end. I do want to say that this is a very light touch. I could talk about this all day. So I'm going to give you a top level view of all the different sorts of things that we should consider when we're talking about self-promotion and not feeling icky, and particularly focusing on some of the barriers that I've seen in the women I've worked with. So I'm not just giving you like a very general overview. I'm trying to target it more to the anticipated audience here. But it is a much bigger topic. So Q&As at the end, put your questions in the chat or in the Google Doc, and Shivani will read them out subject to time. So let's dig into self-promotion first. If I can get the slides to progress, which apparently I can't. I love it. We start, like we did a test and then, oh, there we go. So now I can use my keyboard again. Huh. So let's dig in. Self-promotion. First of all, what do we actually mean by self-promotion? Well, I've already mentioned some of the myths around self-promotion, doing TV interviews and being a politician that talks about how fabulous they are and all that kind of stuff. But what I want to get across is it's way more than that. So of course, the first thing I did when I agreed to Shivani that I would give this talk rather than something else was, of course, I went to Google, because one can't do a talk without without Googling what you're talking about, even if you've talked about this before. Google reckons, this is the top hit in my Google. I'll admit I didn't do incognito, so I'd be interested to see what other people found as their top hit. But that self-promotion is the action of promoting or publicizing oneself or one's activities. Now, I should mention that the second hit had forcefully in that sentence, and I was like, forcefully? Okay. And then immediately we come back around to the ickiness factor that we want to get away from. But let's actually talk about, rather than just the what is it, let's talk about the why you do it. We need to communicate who we are. We need to tell people about our knowledge and our skills. It can be icky, or it can be just factual and, hey, I'm here. You need to demonstrate your reliability. People don't put you onto projects in your current workplace or indeed promote you or give you a new job if you aren't reliable. And reliability isn't just something that people assume, sadly, maybe they should, but they don't. People want evidence of this. And if you just beaver away at your desk, not talking to anybody, and I genuinely mean not talking to anybody, and demonstrating that you're getting stuff done, be it to your team, be it to your manager, be it to your organization, or be it to the big bad world out there, you're not demonstrating that you're reliable. Similarly, network. When you network, we all know that networking is good for us. It builds connections, it opens doors, collaborations, brings on leads. Network and self-promotion go hand in hand. When you stand up and network, when you meet somebody, you are self-promoting. And again, that comes full circle to the ickiness, because a lot of us don't like networking and want to just sit in the corner and cram canapes into our mouths at these events. And just like, I don't want to be here, let me go home, I'll just eat food and drink the beer. But actually, networking is just fundamental to getting across your knowledge, your skills, and your reliability. So people need to know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and therefore your skill sets as well, what you excel in, what you do well, where you're trained up. Self-promotion is about demonstrating your areas of expertise, your skills, your knowledge. And then next comes your successes. This is the bit where we start getting out of the factual a little bit potentially, but we can still be factual. And in fact, the best thing is to be quantifiable. So let's talk about successes. What has gone well and why it's gone well. Again, if you are trying to get on a project you want, or to take on a new task, or to be offered an opportunity, people need to know why it's worth investing in you. Whether that investment is money, or whether that investment is fighting for you over another member of staff, you're a limited resource in your organization, or just going, I'm going to name you on this proposal that I'm writing, whatever it is, whether you're in research or industry. It's really important people can demonstrate both to themselves and to the other people who might be involved in the decision making the successes that means it's worth investing in you. And then finally, passions. I'm a big believer in talking about your passion, and one of the first things I do whenever I work with my clients is I sit down and I come up with their value set and their passion and what makes them sparkle. I love the word sparkle. What makes you thrive? What makes you get up in the morning? What means that even when everything else feels terrible, you can still smile about? Because if you know what your passions are, you'll just accidentally find yourself promoting, because you'll just get enthusiastic about talking about it and about what you're doing there. And it no longer is icky because you're just talking about something you love. So with all of these components comes success. And it's worth remembering that everybody wins if you can self-promote. This isn't about only you. If you can talk about how great you are in a way that you're comfortable with, maybe we should rephrase and not say how great you are, except that is what we're trying to do here. But people want to get the right people into a role. They want to make sure, whether it's a promotion or whether it's hiring somebody or just moving you sideways onto a different project or opening a door or naming you on a proposal, whatever it is, getting you to volunteer for Women in HPC. Sivani, I'm looking at you. Whatever it is, when I approached Sivani, I wanted to make sure that this mentoring program was taken up by the right person, somebody I could trust. I needed to know that Shivani had the passion, she had the skills, she was reliable, she had the knowledge, she was open to discussing things with me, and that she had the network in order to pull this off. By the way, folks, this mentoring program has been no small feat. Hats off to Shivani. So it's worked for me, it's worked for Women HPC. Everybody on this call and everybody else involved in the mentoring program is benefiting from the fact that Shivani could be honest with me about her skills and her knowledge, because that gave me the confidence to say, hey, here's somebody who can take this on for Women in HPC. I haven't had time. I wanted to set up this mentoring program for 4 years. I haven't had the time. This would not have happened if she hadn't demonstrated that she was worth investing in. So thank you, Shivani. I didn't mean to use you as an example, but hey, that's what happens with me. And it's also worth remembering that these things are cyclical, right? When you promote what you do, and if you're in a team, your team gets recognition. So you're self-promoting on some level, but actually what you're doing is talking about the success of your team, their efforts, and all of your successes together. Now, you then get benefit back because you're the team leader, or you were heavily involved, or the very fact that you're the one talking about it, even if the self-promotion is just a blog post, you're getting recognition. But the organization also wins. So you win, your team wins, your organization wins, because whether or not it's a company and it's about profit or reaching a new lead or a new client, or it's a research project or whatever it is, the outcome, you're sharing what's happened because of your team. So your organization wins, your team wins, and you win. And it's cyclical, because when it all comes back around, you do better, they do better every single time. You can make sure that you use quantifiable success metrics for this self-promotion. So it's always, whenever you're starting to feel icky because you're talking about you, if you can talk about your team, just make sure that you make it clear what your contribution was, but try and use quantifiable metrics. And remember that when you actually are passionate about what you're saying, and your self-promotion becomes magnetic and energizing, you'll connect with the right people, and you'll find that this becomes far more natural, and it's no longer like forced and uncomfortable. And what you'll find is this clears obstacles out your way, because opportunities will start coming to you. And that's really what this is all about. Self-promotion is about seeing the opportunities and being able to grab onto them, rather than realizing the opportunity had passed you by and nobody had told you about it because they didn't think of you, because you're just too far down on their radar. When you're too far down on somebody's radar, 9 times out of 10, I'm sad to say, it's your fault. So if you've had an opportunity missed, don't get me wrong, I've had this happen and I'm like, oh, why didn't they think of me? And I get really annoyed at myself and them. And then I have to step back and say, well, did they actually know, one, that's something I wanted to do, and two, that I'm worth investing in for that opportunity, that I'm capable, that I'm confident, that I have the skills they need, and I would do it really well. And if I can't honestly say to myself that they knew that about me, then it was my fault, not theirs. How are they supposed to know everything about me? I'm not even sure I know everything about myself. So, some common mistakes. These are the things that quite often lead you to feeling icky. So, I don't expect any of you will probably have this problem. This is more stereotypically the people that have a lot of confidence. And in my experience, the Women HPC community is, if anything, lacking a bit of confidence. If you've got confidence, then fantastic, keep it, hold it. We all need to have that. So some common mistakes, but I'm not necessarily talking to you here, so don't take this as, oh gosh. Only talking about yourself. This is a common one in certain demographics, particularly politicians. Let's just leave that one on the table. Nobody likes to hear somebody just talking about themselves. I think that's pretty obvious. I'm going to talk about responsibilities. Responsibilities only go so far. Basically, anybody who has the same job description as you has the same responsibilities. The way somebody decides to take X over Y person is based on what they were able to achieve under that job description. So for every responsibility you have, think about the achievements, the things that make you different, the things that make you stand out. Ideally, link it all the way back to those passions that you had. It's not that responsibilities aren't important, because you need to demonstrate that people have the belief in you to give you those responsibilities, but it's what you do with those responsibilities that make you unique and important. Your achievements, not your historic responsibilities, are also the thing that gets you a pay rise or a promotion. So it's really important that you are looking beyond, because if you're doing your job, why are they going to give you a pay rise? Why are they going to give you a promotion? If you're doing more than your job, or you're doing it exceedingly well, and they can see the potential, i.e. what you've achieved under those current responsibilities, gives them an insight to where you might go. And that's when you get the pay rise or the promotion. The next one, being inconsistent. And I put practice your elevator pitch. We're going to talk about pitches in a little bit, but being inconsistent is a big one. I'm not a big believer in having like a whole paragraph that you've memorized and you churn it out like a parrot, but I have seen people have like 12 different things that they talk about at the same event, and they're not even aligned with each other. So it's important to know what's important to you to get across. And even though you might change exactly what you say, which is a good thing, you're tailoring it to your audience, that you have a self-consistent messaging. Next one, sharing your personal negativity. People don't like negative people. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't a place for negative things in our world, but in general, self-promotion needs to be positive. You'll go further if you shine as a positive personality, sunny and optimistic. Yes, for some of us, that means walking out the door and putting your face on. You can become more who you are when you've got the job or the opportunity. I mean, in general, I think we get more out of people when we're positive. That doesn't mean that there aren't bad things in our lives. I'm not saying that at all. And I don't want you to think that you can't be yourself, but try and be the positive version of yourself. There's a whole world I could dig into there. And it's a difficult subject for some people, but I just try and be the most optimistic version of yourself that you're comfortable with, because you will go further. And leave any baggage you have at the door. And this comes full circle to the next one, gossiping. It's very easy in a networking situation to fall into gossiping. Being professional is your number one goal with self-promotion. That means not personal gossip, even to work friends. I'm sure we've all made this mistake. We think we have a friend who is also a work colleague, and we tell them something about the work situation, and it turns out that they let it go. Let's not do that. Let's just not go there. Sometimes I know we have to get things off our chest, but let's use people outside of our work sphere to do that, so it doesn't come full circle. Get things off your chest with people where it's not going to impact you and your career. And never ever gossip at a self-promotion event, like a networking event. It will never get you anywhere. Some people use it as a tool to get you to buy into them. Don't go into that. Just if somebody starts gossiping, just if you can, shut it down, move on to more sensible topics. Worst case scenario, and you feel like you're a bit trapped, just nod your head, smile, and realize that that's not the kind of person you want to have a relationship with, whether it's professional or friends. So how to share your accomplishments. Now we've done the like what not to do. Let's figure out how we can do this and not feel all icky. So first up, let's own this. Realize that you've earned the right to celebrate. You have done great things, right? If you have an accomplishment, you've done something worth celebrating. Be proud, be very proud, right? Just because you're proud doesn't make you a horrible person. It's how you then use that makes you not nice or nice, you know, or not somebody people want to be around, right? There is nothing wrong with being proud and celebrating what you have done. And sometimes I think, and I'm going to use a stereotype here, ladies, so I apologize, but sometimes I think as women, society has taught us that we have to just be very modest and quiet, and we can't shout from the rooftops about the amazing stuff we've done. I'm sorry, but we have to start owning the right to celebrate. So be proud of what you've done and celebrate. Recognize that you're helping others and get comfortable with that. This helps you celebrate. If you have done something fantastic and you tell people about it, I can almost guarantee you didn't do that by yourself. I'm a big believer in celebrating those around me. Whenever I celebrate an accomplishment, there's always loads of women, yeah, actually maybe women, and my husband, who is my biggest advocate. There's loads of people that have helped me get there. So let's celebrate them together and give recognition. And so when you celebrate, make sure you own the bit that you did, but share what you did, how the other people helped you as well. That'll help you get more comfortable. So it's a cyclical process. When you promote your work, you are sharing the success of not just yourself, but your team. So make sure that they get recognition that helps you break down the icky barrier. And then your organization gets recognition. So not only has your team got recognition and you have got recognition, but your organization does well, which is good, right? In multiple ways, because not only are you helping your organization, that helps you straight away, because if your organization is getting recognition and they know where it came from your team and from you, you get recognition for the fact that the organization is getting recognition. And that's how you start building this trajectory towards new opportunities, promotions, success stories, whatever it is. And then remember the big bad world that's out there. Whatever company you're in, you're probably working for something that's doing something good, right? Maybe that's why you chose to work there. When you do something well and your company gets recognition for it, or your whatever it is, maybe you've invented something new in your research area, whatever you're doing, you're helping people elsewhere. Even if what you were doing was selling a product, people buy products because it makes their lives easier, not because they were necessarily conned into it. So remember that what you're doing, when your organization gets recognition, when your team gets recognition, when you get recognition, you're actually helping the other world as well. And as soon as we start reframing all this, we stop feeling so icky and we can start being passionate again. So going back to our list, know your pitch and practice it. This comes to the elevator pitch, which I'll come to shortly. And so then also take the self out of self-promotion, including your pitch. So I try not to use I a lot. I find that's more comfortable. I actually, the very first time I wrote a pitch, I wrote it in the third person. And I got somebody else to proofread it for me. And it was, Tony does this, Tony does that. And it sort of just kind of, I almost thought I should put a different name in there. So if you're really struggling to not feel icky, try and remove the I and put it in the third person. So what else? Oh, I've just realized my notes are all back to front. So how do we do the not so icky pitch, the elevator pitch? We've all been told we need one. Hey, I'm a big believer in the elevator pitch. But how do you break it down into something that means you don't feel, oh, yeah, do I have to say this? Or, you know, you stand up and you just sound like a parrot because you've just said the same thing to 30 different people in the same room. How do you do it? How do you not sound like a robot? Okay, so let's break this down. Focus on your work. What does your work contribute to the organization's outcomes? Whether it's your company, your research group, your university, your supercomputing center, whatever it is, what does your work contribute to the outcomes? How are you helping them? Whether you are you're helping people through a help desk for a supercomputer, or you're doing novel research into a programming paradigm, how are you helping the organization's outcomes? And try and break that down into the different parts of your organization. I deliberately use the word organization because it covers academia, labs, and industry. But you can also bring it down to my team, my research group, my research collaboration that might be multiple organizations, you know, whatever it is, and try and do it for each layer as well. If you're like, you can be really cynical about it. Like, okay, this helps advance my career because I found this new thing and I get to publish a paper out of it. But it helps my university because they get more citations and they get more money in, right? You can be cynical, but try and figure out how your work is contributing. Then the one that makes me get up. How are you impacting the broader community and society? Now, this doesn't work for everybody, but many of the people I work with, actually what they're doing and why they're doing it is fundamental to who they are. So I started Women HPC because I just wanted to help more women thrive and not see so many women leaving the sector and not fulfilling their potential because of artificial barriers that are put in the way because we are an underrepresented group. So for me, Women in HPC has this huge impact on our community, a positive thing. And I also get to work with amazing people because of it. And it's why I've just, I now am a leadership and success coach, because I can help more people. And that's really, really important to who I am. So what is your why for the broader community? Focus on what your work does, and that will help you understand why you get up and will make you more passionate and give you that sparkle when you talk about it. That means that people will trust you more. Because a lot of the not so icky is sounding more trustworthy. And trustworthy comes from being comfortable and owning what you say. It's almost like a stage presence thing. And then how does your work help reach objectives of your organization and team? Actually quantifying them. So if you work for an academia, maybe your work has helped bring in X numbers of dollars for a new research project, or maybe it's the number of citations, or maybe you managed to make a piece of code go 12 times faster on a particular supercomputer. Be specific, quantify. Maybe you helped sales in your company like explode and you did X% increase in it, whatever it is. Try and find a number, write it down, own that number, memorize it, because that's the thing that says, I know what I'm doing here. Right? The other stuff people can sort of like make up a little bit. But when you can mention a number, that's the thing that says, okay, this person really does know what they're talking about. So next up, what's unique about you? Lots of people could have your job description, but what means that you do it better than other people? What's your passions? What makes you get up in the morning? What's your unique approach to problem solving? What's different? What means that you do this better than anybody else? That's a difficult question to answer for many of us. For me, I have come to the conclusion, the thing that's unique about me is I'm just excited to make the world a better place, right? And that's kind of like, okay, how does that help? But what it means is I have passion for anything that I can view as genuinely helping other people and making the planet Earth a good place to be. I can get properly behind it. And if you get me behind something, I am 100% invested in it. That's one of the things that I don't see very much. Well, I think there are other people who feel that way, but I don't see them committing in the same way. I also am a very good problem solver, I like to think. So you can see there are lots of different ways to interpret this. Come up with what you think makes you unique, especially compared to the other people around you. If you don't know how to answer it, ask some of your friends, ask some of your colleagues, what are you good at? What's unique about you? And you might be surprised. How can you assist others in a unique way? So take your uniqueness and turn it and think about how can you use that to actually assist others. So for me, it's partly my breadth of knowledge about how supercomputing centers work and the number of people I know, which meant that I can go into an organization and I can inform them about a lot of things strategically, which is one of the jobs I've had in the past, as being someone provides strategy. And it's just that knowledge. Not that many people I've come across have quite such a breadth of knowledge as I do about so many things. I can't do lots of deep work. I'm never going to be the world's best MPI expert. Don't want to be. That's okay. My unique strengths allow me to assist companies with a full understanding of how the HPC community works and interacts. So ask yourself, what of the unique stuff that you have allows you to assist people in a unique way? How can you really help them thrive, their organization thrive? And remember, keep all this in the context of your passion, your interest, and your personal vision statement, how you want to make a difference to the world. Because whenever you do that, you'll find that your pitch becomes less icky. So, how to do this? The pitch. Write a list of your skills. And as I said before, put them in the third person if it makes you more comfortable. List all those things that mean you can help others. Learn them, right? That doesn't mean learn the sentence verbatim. It means what are my key skills and how can I help them? Have them at the tip of your tongue. Know them off by heart in the sense of what it is rather than exactly how you say it. And use this to create your value proposition. So anybody who's worked in industry or a company will have heard value proposition. It's like, oh, marketing. I have to talk about why it's worth investing. Oh, how do you write a personal value statement? Wow. The key thing with a value proposition is why me rather than that. Or for a company, it's like why this product, how this product is going to make the world a better place rather than our competitor's product. It takes into account everything from how much it's going to cost somebody to buy it, the overhead of running it. So anybody who works in an HPC center knows that when you're purchasing a supercomputer, it's not just how much the hardware costs, it's how much the software costs, how much the maintenance costs, and how much the electricity is going to cost. There's a package. That's the value proposition. All together, of course, with how much compute people are going to get out of it, which in a supercomputer depends what you're going to run on it. That's the value proposition. So for you, what are the goals of the organization individual you're talking to? If you're going to a job interview, you need to prep beforehand. Figure out what the company's mission statement is. If you're networking, this is a fantastic opportunity to ask them. People love to talk about themselves. Hey, I'm sat here talking to all of you. I don't even know if anybody's listening. People love to talk about themselves. So ask them, what are the goals? What's the blockers? What's going on? Then, with that little bit of knowledge that you have about what makes you tick, what is unique, your skill set, all those things you've just memorized, ask them the question and figure out which of the skills you have and your unique talents can help them answer the problem they have, make their goals easier to achieve. That's your value proposition, right? And you can immediately start saying, hey, I've had an experience where I could help you here because I did this on this machine. I managed to make this bit of code go 10 times faster on this supercomputer. And that was because of these skills that I have, and I can help you. It's all about turning your experience, your unique talents into something that can help them. And then it's no longer sleazy and icky and uncomfortable because genuinely you're helping them. So, and then reserve your accomplishments list and experience for the resume. This networking, self-promotion experience where you're actually in front of the room is not the time to be listing your experience. Now, if you are actually in a job interview, they might ask you about your experience and accomplishments, but actually the most powerful thing is when you can convince them that you are going to help them. And that doesn't come from history, that comes from the future. That's you saying, I can help you in this way. And if you need to know why, look at my CV and I can reel that off if you need me to. It's always about how you can help somebody else. So where to self-promote? I've talked about how you do it quite a lot. And a lot of what you've probably just heard me say probably makes it sound like this all has to be done in person, whether it's in the interview room, at a conference, a networking event. Well, self-promotion can take many, many forms. And again, this is like a much more than just this topic. And I know we're going to run out of time, so I'm going to try and go quickly here. First of all, find your circle. Where do the people you hang out, the people you want to promote yourself to hang out? Is it on social media, blogging, internal communications potentially? If you want to promote yourself in your organization, is there a mailing list? What can you do? If you want to show international leadership, have a look at doing it online through Thought Leadership. This is where you share your knowledge in a specialist area through blogs or on social media in some way. And consider, if you don't already have a seminar series in your organization, consider starting one or a special interest group. Start answering internal queries. Maybe your team emails each other questions. Start being the person that answers those. Start showing your leadership in the ways of in knowledge. Build it into your schedule. So this helps if you're like not comfortable with this. You don't want this to overwhelm you. It's very easy for social media, blogging, and answering emails from colleagues to overwhelm your schedule. And it means you have no time for the things that actually you want to promote. And you spend all your time promoting, but no time doing. So Do it regularly, commit to it, but limit your time. For example, I spend half an hour twice a week on Facebook, just commenting, helping people out, because that's the way I'm demonstrating my thought leadership. But I limit it. I set a timer and limit how long I spend in there, because it's a time suck. When I worked in a large organization, I would answer queries, but I'd only do them a couple of times a week. I didn't want to do them all the time. And this will get easier. It starts off feeling like artificial, and then you'll realize you're helping people and it will get easier. So I'm deliberately speeding up here because I know we're running out of time, but hopefully this is still helpful. So focus on the present and the future. I've kind of already touched on this. Don't worry about the past so much. That's what your CV and resume for. When you're self-promoting, you want to look at where you're going and how you're going to be helping people. And I can't say this enough. I know I said this throughout. Help others, answer questions, offer assistance, give a webinar, share your expertise and knowledge. Be careful not to share everything all the time though, because I know in some fields, for example, if you're in research, sharing your ideas might mean you get scooped. You don't want people to take credit for something you've done, so just be cognizant of that. I'm not saying that everybody out there is there to scoop you or anything else, but just make sure that you are cognizant if you think that that is a worry in your field. And remember that people value your skills, not just the stuff that can be taken for free, because actually people, for example, in my job, I give a lot of free training, but actually people that choose to sign up and work with me is because they know that free training only goes so far, and what they need to do is chew through things one-on-one with me and work with me. So finally, I feel like I should just give you the slides and let you read over this. Tips and tricks for CVs and resumes. Actually, yes, Sivani, I think because we want to leave time for questions, right?
Yes.
I think these resumes are a lot more clear, so maybe we can just share the slides.
Okay, that sounds good. Although I would say just I would still want to see what you have to say.
Okay, so I will try and do like a 2-minute. There's only a couple of slides. So tips and tricks. Make every sentence a bullet and reflect an accomplishment that can be quantified or qualified. So don't focus on experience, focus on accomplishment. Keep a success log. This helps you very quickly list your accomplishments. At any time, you should be able to look at your success log, realize you're amazing, because some of us forget that we're amazing. We get a bit down, but it also means you can very quickly update your CV at any time. So keep a log, whether it's a notebook or a document, and add to it whenever something good happens, and be quantifiable as much as possible. So difference between a CV and a resume, people get confused by this. The key thing is make sure you do the right thing for the job that you are applying for. So a CV in general is more frequently used in Europe and in the US in academia. It's credential based, it's very long in general. It is a comprehensive listing of every tiny bit of education, certifications and experience, even professional affiliations and membership. So add your Women in HPC membership on there. Your resume these are much more common in North America. They're competency based. It's basically personal marketing. So all that stuff about personal self-promotion, straight in the resume. It's about your skills and your notable achievements. Keep it short, keep it sweet, because in general, in my experience, people don't read beyond the first page of a resume. Top tips: review examples. Make sure you know the domain that you're going into, the community. If possible, get somebody from that target community in HR or senior leadership to review your CV or resume. Know the requirements. This is very important in academia, where quite often there are very strict rules on like what you can and can't submit. Edit for length as well as style. Even in academia, where they want you to add everything in, the first page is your #1 most important thing. Other than potentially in academia, they want to see your citations, but make sure the first sentence is top notch. Choose the right font and size and leave white space. The number of CVs and resumes I've seen where it's like tiny, there's no white space, and like it doesn't make me more likely to read it just because you fit more in the page. I'm just no. So be concise, and so you can make sure you leave white space. Resumes, keep them short. I've already said that. Match your qualifications to the job. A lot of people say make sure that your covering letter matches the job description. I would say your CV or your resume need to be right up there too. When it's really important to me, I do work on how the CV reads for the job I'm applying for, especially if it's like my number one priority to get that particular job. There are even companies now that use computers, hey, AI people, to screen applications. So you need to make sure the right keywords are in your CV or resume, because otherwise you don't make the cut. You don't even get read by a human being. That's me. I'm done. There's so much more we could talk about. So apologies if that was super fast, but you can see this is a hot topic. Questions? So have we got questions, Shivani?
I don't see any questions from the attendees on. Oh wait, I do see one. Are you suggesting to have one page of resume? My screen went blank. Just give me 1 second. Are you suggesting to have only one page of resume? It might have only one line of description of the job as Yulita.
So if I'm correct, they're asking whether or not one page is sensible for a resume.
Yes.
Certainly that has, I think it's really important that you consult the sector that you are applying for. But so I generally read beyond the first page, but I know plenty of people, including in the HPC community, who don't. So they've said to me, yeah, don't bother. If you send in more than 5 pages, we're not even going to pick it up, but we will never read beyond the first page, even if it's only 2 pages. So there are people that are different from that, but always put your most important points on the first page. I think that goes without saying. And if you can keep it short and sweet, do. And definitely consult the company sector. The problem with HPC is we're so broad, I can't give you general advice. It's part of what makes HPC exciting, but definitely, ask somebody in your target organization or similar organizations for some advice there.
All right. Hope that answers the question.
Oh, if there's a follow-up, I'm happy to answer if there is. So.
Cool. Okay. So I have another quick question. So if you were talking to me, like when you're talking to me, if I were to ask you, what's your elevator pitch to me right now? So what would you say?
What, my elevator pitch?
Yes. So I can.
I should have thought about this. So actually, it's interesting because I have just, as Shivani knows, I have just been switching my priorities, and I quit my job a couple of months ago. So I don't have this well primed, but hey, this is a learning experience. So my elevator pitch would be, I am passionate about helping women in tech succeed and thrive, fulfilling their ambitions. And I believe as a strategist and someone with experience of going from PhD to a C-suite job in senior leadership and management within the period of 7 years, and working in everything from academia to supercomputing centers to a startup, I have a wealth of knowledge and experience I want to help other women learn from, rather than having to go through the pain that I went through to get to where they want to be in their careers. I want to help them on that journey, make it easier for them, and get them to where they can thrive and sparkle, because I love that word, quicker than they would do by themselves. Make it an easy journey.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Thank you. So I liked how you have stated your experience and like where you were and where you are now, and your journey, and how you want to show that, use that to help others. That's my key takeaway. Thank you. That's very helpful. And one other question that I had was when you said use social media for self-promoting, how hard or easy is it with with how social media and your work life are blending together these days. They were like completely different things back when, and now they're all kind of blended.
Yeah, so this is a tricky one, and I would always urge caution before jumping on social media for work. I mentioned it briefly, but definitely urge some caution here because, for example, we're amongst friends. This is a webinar in the Women HPC community. For those of you who know me as a friend, I'm quite political. I care a lot about politics. I'm not going to tell you how, but I do. But although I care deeply about it, I don't want my politics to interfere in my professional life, right? I'm not a politician. I never want to be. I think it's a horrendous job. So my political beliefs and systems, and this is part of my core values, and some of the things that I support politically are part of my core values. But in general, I don't want that to impact whether or not somebody decides to work for me or whether they decide to have respect for me. And whether we like it or not, things like that, whether, the other thing is I have cats, right? I'm a cat lover. And some people just like, oh, she's a cat lover, she's crazy. Yes, I am. So I don't want the fact that I'm a cat lover, or maybe I do with cats. But anyway, I don't believe that should have an impact on your decision to work with me or not. And for some people, sadly, it does. Now, maybe I don't want to work with some people, but the more personal stuff you have out there, the more you're allowing them to make unconscious decisions about who you are rather than conscious decisions based on your worth and your value in the professional context. So ask yourself, with social media, am I using social media professionally? Am I using it personally? And how do I want those two things to interact? If you work in a company, you may well find there are actually serious restrictions. You may well have signed your life away when you joined about how you're allowed to use social media professionally or not. So make sure you're cognizant of that. And then in terms of like time as well. So I should actually say before I move on to time, I do actually, for some things, I have a professional social media account and a personal social media account. So for Facebook example, a lot of my work colleagues are also on Facebook. So I've actually actively limited what I talk about personally because, well, also I just don't have the time anymore, to be honest. With Twitter, I will admit I shut down my personal Twitter account because I wasn't wanting to use it professionally. And then it was like 2015, Twitter took off. And Women in HPC took off, and people kept tweeting they found out who I was, and they kept tweeting at it. And I was like, hold on, this has got nothing to do with my professional work. So I shut that account down, and I actually recently started a new Twitter account that I can just be more cognizant of what I say. Because I do want to share about me. I have a personality, and I don't want to work with people who don't like me because, hey, that's who I am. If you don't like it, leave it. But at the same time, you know, how I vote in elections is not how I want you making a decision on whether you work with me. So yes, just kind of take that all into consideration. And then time is a big one. It's so easy to have a suck on your time here. I was actually talking to a friend yesterday. They have been asked by a colleague if they will tweet about something at an upcoming event, and they were like, oh gosh, should I say yes? And I was like, well, does it help your career? Do you want to? Does it make you shine? If you don't do it, what are the consequences? Evaluate all those things and come to a decision. Don't just do it because they're arm twisting you, because I'm sure there's somebody else who actually likes tweeting who can do it instead. And so my advice is only do social media if it's good for you, if it's the right platform for you to demonstrate who you are, it reaches the right kind of people, it's part of like your strategy. I'm a big believer in having a personal strategy. It's part of your strategy for excelling in your career because you know that's the way to meet people. If that isn't true and you don't want to do it, don't do it. Like, do something else instead. I do think you all need to network. So you can't not only do things because you want to do them. We all have to get out and network more, I'm afraid, folks, whether it's in your organization or at conferences or whatever. Networking is kind of like essential. Does that help, Stefanie?
It does. Thank you. And if there are any more questions, I don't see any on the chat and or on Google Sheet. So I think these are all the questions we have. And so we would, with thanks to Tony, thank you so much for being our speaker today, and hope everybody who attended the chat and this conversation enjoyed it. With that, I'll give you back your 7 minutes of time. Thank you. Bye.